So, do you know the amazing Cat Black?
Cat Black, the YouTuber,
Yes.
trans girl, black trans woman. Yes, you and her are two of the ladies who inspired me to start YouTubing.
Work. So, I have been knowing Cat since early in her YouTube days. We are one of the early troopers on YouTube. Um, and I've watched her grow up. I watched her turn into a really big YouTuber, and I watch her do so many things. And so, I think she's really smart. I think that she is, her social commentary is thoughtful, and I just look forward to her talking about particular topics. She is somebody who I am a fan of as well. And I just enjoy her thought leadership. Now, I do miss the crazy, unhinged Cat Black. She kind of flipped the script and got
I'd say a bit more conservative.
more conservative, yeah. But honey, I remember Cat Black when she was going through her Britney Spears moment, shaving her head off over breakups, and yeah,
No, I didn't know this tea about Cat Black. I must have caught on late. I caught on the social media late, Diamond. Y'all girls was already on and popping by the time I even realized that it was a thing.
yeah. Cat used to be a train wreck. She used to
It,
be not like not in the bangy way as Cherry. Not how Cherry is a train wreck, but she's bangy. Cat Black is would be a train
suburban,
wreck in more
suburban train
like
wreck.
like a white woman.
A,
Like
a black suburban train wreck. It's
yeah,
given. It's given. I grew up with both parents in the house, but girl, I'm still nuts. That's what it was given.
very emo, very it's she that kind of train wreck where she would go through something, honey. She'd get to crying and shaving off her head. Very Britney Spears in Britney Spears crazy moment. She was very that. But I lived for it because it was like watching a beautiful train wreck because she was so pretty to me. It was like, oh,
Yeah,
you're so pretty. It was like, oh my God.
yeah. She's always been a pretty girl. Shout out to Cat Black.
Yeah. So recently, Cat Black made a statement about, like a trans medicalism type of situation. And I actually agreed with her statement, but she got the white non-binary people, baby, backlashing on her based on what she said.
Girl, I want them to get some comfort in their motherfucking identity and leave us transsexuals who actually transitioned alone.
So essentially, that's what Cat Black, she didn't say that, but her point she was making, she was talking about these executive orders and these legislative acts that are banning trans healthcare. And her essential point was, if you are not having the same experience about this if you did not medically transition. She was like, if you didn't do medical things to transition, you are having a different relationship with what is happening in our country because you technically are not being affected by this. And she, in the conversation, she made so many caveats. She said, I'm not talking about a non-binary person who did go through medical stuff, who did da 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 da. I understand. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people. Ooh, oh, my eye is itching. Bad. Ooh, ooh.
Oh no, honey. She said she need a drop. Honey. Yeah, girl, I think I know where this conversation is going, honey. And I
So
think non-binaries then unfollowed me for the same reason.
yeah, so she was like, "Yo, I'm not talking about y'all. If you don't went through some medical shit, yes, cool. You may have the same anxieties, but if you have not, if you just kind of socially transitioned and didn't medically transition, you are not having the same issues and same anxieties or at the same type of risk as people who are transsexual, people who are um medically transitioned. You just not." And to me, as a transsexual woman, I know that's an out of date term for some people, but it's a term that I accept about myself. I understand what it meant for us back in the day. I understand it's kind of getting antiquated now, but as a transsexual woman, deeper, which is a little more specific than a transgender woman, um, I understand what she's saying. It is a very different experience when you are at risk of not having access to your hormones. You are at risk at not having access to some of the surgeries that you want to have. You are not having access to the ability to make your outer shell match what you feel. That is what dysphoria and everything is about. And so if you don't experience that, or you only socially transition, you are at a different level and different layer of risk when it comes to that. So I totally agree with Cat Black, but she is getting tons of backlash saying that she is anti non-binary people. She is a trans medicalist. And so what I want to hear from you, basically you have just said it, is what are your thoughts about it?
Well, I did share, past takes, but for all of y'all who have stuck beside the girl, you included Diamond, you know that my perspective grows when and evolves when I educate myself and when I introduce myself to various types of people who I may not have been introduced to before, right? But ultimately, honey, my take ain't changed too much, honey. I'm probably agreeing with Cat Black, but I will make my own points very clear because I didn't hear specifically what Kat said. But overall, you touched on something, Diamond. You said that these people have a different experience. You know what I mean? These people have a different relationship with gender altogether. If medical transition is not necessary for you, then you have a different relationship with your gender identity than those of us who do medically transition. You know what I mean? Um, it just is what it is. I mean, what is we slicing bread for when the shit already came sliced? And some people might consider transsexual antiquated word, but it is necessary for us to point out that we are transsexuals right now in today's social environment when it comes to the transgender umbrella, because there is a whole transgender umbrella and there are different experiences for different people and different identities under that umbrella. It is necessary for us to make it clear that we are binary trans people. Instead of saying binary trans people, we say transsexual. That is literally what it means. And that's all it means. You know, um, I think something that the non-binary people, because again, I check myself and I try and educate myself and introduce myself to other people's opinions, and I try to absorb them, even when those opinions may seem bigoted to me. But when there is a whole community of people saying the same shit, even if I wholeheartedly disagree, I'm going to stop and analyze. Many of us transsexuals have been making it very clear that our experience is different. We have made trans this umbrella term where if you're a person who feels feminine and masculine energy, now you can identify as trans. When in actuality, most people, period, can identify feminine and masculine energy within themselves, regardless of their identity, regardless of whether they're male, female, man, woman, trans, cis, non binary, with the possibility of our hormones being taken away, our options for surgeries being taken away, our legal documentation being altered and reversed. For those of us where this is necessary for us to navigate our lives, where we have found it necessary for us to navigate our lives, regardless of what other people feel, it is going to affect us in a different way. If you're somebody who's non binary, or and you dress and drag on the weekends, you are not going to be affected by this administration in the same way that me, Diamond, and Jay will be.
It's kind of similar. I know y'all don't like to make comparisons. I know, but it's just some parallels in other situations that just have to be made. It's similar to those passing black people. If you black and you pass, it's like if you are Rashida Jones, how you experience your black womanhood is not gonna be how somebody else who is not racially ambiguous. We talked about this a couple of episodes back. It's just how you, it's not saying that you're not having a black experience in some cases, but it's not gonna be the fucking same. If you non-binary and you haven't medically transitioned and somebody looks at you and they just assume, they're normally gonna assume that you're cis, you're not having the same experience as me, as somebody who they can tell that I'm trans. They can tell that I am doing what I need to do to present in a certain way. It's just going to be different. In the same way, it's different when you got a passing girl. You're going to have a different experience as a passing trans woman or trans man that somebody who doesn't pass, somebody can easily tell that they are a trans person. If you are somebody who doesn't need any medical intervention with your transition, you are going to have a different relationship. You're going to have a different experience with the medical industry. You're going to have a different experience because I literally got to go somewhere to get my hormones, whether I'm going across the border and sneaking and getting the black market, or I'm going to Walgreens, or I'm going to the doctor and getting this, or buying it from somebody that who go to the club, and I'm buying the shot from the lady at the club, or whatever. However it works, I have to go somewhere to medically to change what I need to change to make me feel, to alleviate my issues of dysphoria. And so, if you're not doing that, you don't have to worry about this legislation. You don't have to worry about them taking away our right and our autonomy to our bodies and do what we want to do with our bodies, because you are living your life without the medical intervention. And that's a blessing, great. But it's not, you're not having the same experience. You're not under the same threat.
At the end of the day, regardless of your reasoning for being hypothetically trans and not actually living or pursuing medical transition, I'll say, there's a different level of dysphoria. Because I live with depression, I live with severe chronic mental health issues. That don't stop me from pursuing medical transition. That don't stop me from doing what I know is socially necessary for me to be seen as a woman in society. Regardless of my depression, regardless of my anxiety, regardless of my agoraphobia, I deal with some of the same issues that this person, Katie, claims to deal with, but still at the end of the day, we do not have the same issues. We do not have the same problems. We do not have the same experience.
I remember this girl I met a couple of years ago. I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to say. She is assigned female at birth, and she is femme, but she considers herself and tells people that she is trans femme.
I want her to go ahead and clock the fuck out here. Tell her to go ahead and clock out. Her shift is done. Her services are no longer needed.
So much so that she gags trans women who are assigned male at birth that are trans femme, because she is going into spaces, getting their services and their resources as a trans femme.
To me, it sounds like exploitation.
But when you look at her, she literally looks just like a regular black cis queer woman, like a regular, like not even queer. Like sometimes she be looking queer because honey, she'll have a rainbow on. But like if you see her, walking down the street, she just looked like a regular black woman.
I might know exactly who you're talking about because I'm thinking about somebody who fits that exact description.
Ooh, name them. I can edit it out.
I can't even think of the child's name, but she's around my age and came out on the activism scene around the time that I did. Dark skinned girl.
Dark
Um,
skin.
yeah, probably might be. It sounds
Got
about
wear
right.
glasses and wigs, and she got dreads.
I was just about to talk about the motherfucking bang wigs, girl, honey.
Yes.
Yeah, girl, and I've been wanting her to clock out since day one. Um, I understand the social justice intent for somebody, for example, if my mom, knowing what she knows about transness and the trans struggle, decides to take a political stance and say that she's trans femme in order to some way, hypothetical situation, or in order to some way educate people on transness or educate people on gender variance and the spectrum of gender identity as a whole. But at some point, it would be necessary for her to come out and make it very motherfucking clear that this was done for social justice purposes and she realizes that she is not a fucking trans woman.
Well, this one, she literally walks around and goes in trans women's spaces and says, I am trans, I'm just non-binary, and yes, I was assigned female at birth, but I'm kind of like on the spectrum between non-binary and femme. But when you look at her, she just looked like a regular black woman. And I was
I
like, nobody is gonna assume, unless there's people who are gonna assume that you are assigned male at birth, baby, and you are going into spaces and getting those resources for people who are dealing with that. And I feel it's disingenuous. I feel like it's weird. And yeah, I think that that's shady. And I think this is a perfect example of you ain't going through the same shit that we going through.
I have specifically spoken to non-binary people. Shout out to D the Tranny Bear. Um, and we have had this discourse and we have discussed, and they, for example, are someone who realizes that their experience is not like somebody like yours and mine. They are somebody who backs voices like yours and mine, and they are somebody who uses their non-binary identity and presentation. They're androgynous. Their overwhelmingly flamboyant androgynous presentation to back the trans movement, trans identity, and gender variance.
All right, y'all. Well, let us know what y'all think. Let us know what you think about this Madeline Pendleton. I think it's Madeline Pendleton and Cat Black controversy. Check out the videos on TikTok. So, what y'all think about that? Hashtag March's Plate.
Hashtag MARSHASPLATE.